Good evening, ladies and gentlemen out there in the Undisputed Nerdiverse. I am the Gentlemanly Gamer. Good evening and welcome to you. Welcome to a special bonus episode that we like to do called Tips and Bits. This is a supplementary episode that is running alongside our regular podcast, Undisputed Nerds, that you can find on YouTube, Spotify, and all the other places, where we take a lighthearted look at this week's comic book, movie, news, games, whatever it might be. So go check it out. As always, I am joined by the wonderful captain of the ship, Zane Taicho. Say hello, Zane.
Why do you always do that at the end? Say hello.
I don't know why.
Like I'm a puppet or a muppet.
Yeah, exactly.
Say hello to the kids.
If I just have my arm, if I have my arm like this, say hello, Zane.
Hello, everyone.
I asked you not to do that voice on screen. Thank you very much. It's a private voice between you and I. I would appreciate it if you don't do that.
What are you talking about?
It reminds me of weirdly, it reminds me of either Mickey Mouse or those weird like Teletubby-esque puppets from the TV series Happy. You know, the ones that turn out to be orgy aliens. Those ones.
Sort of, yeah.
Go and watch the show Happy, guys. It's a great show. Anyway, we've got off to a banging start already.
Oh,
yeah. We won't go into the full ins and outs of how are you, Zane, but I'm assuming you're doing well, are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
All right. Well, Zane, we're here to talk about all the week's hottest tips and bits. And
absolutely.
My lord, Zane, was it a week for tips and bits, wasn't it? This is going to date this show.
Man, there has been some truth bombs.
It feels like DC is slightly imploding this week, I will say that. But anyway, there's a lot of DC stuff to cover, a lot of it, but we do also have miscellaneous and Marvel for you, Zane. So, as I always do on Tips and Bits, I will give you the choice. Which do you want to have first?
Ooh, I'll go Misk, please.
Oh, he's hit the Misk. He's hit the Misk button, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, we've got some Star Wars news. So, Jedi Fallen Order, the computer game, it is confirmed as canon. It is part of the lore, starring Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis, the famed Jedi Padawan and Knight. Well, Mr. Monaghan was being interviewed this week, and he's dropped a bit of a bomb about potentially doing some live action stuff.
Hey.
So he's promoting Paradise Highway at the moment, and he was talking to Screen Rant. And the actor basically fueled speculation after one of the interviewers asked him if there was any possibility that he might appear in some live action stuff. And his response was quite telling. And he said this: well, of course there's interest. And then he paused and goes, that's about all I can say. Ha 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 ha.
Oh. So,
looks like Cal Kestis is going to head to the small or big screen pretty soon. What are your thoughts, Zane? Do you want to see Cal coming up?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a live action version. I guess it's kind of like playing off that synergy of game release. Here's also the live action version as well, right? Like that's just marketing 101. Yes. I wonder if we'll see him in Andor, because we got the trailer this week, right?
We did indeed. Yeah, possibly. I don't know where he would fit. I don't think he would fit in that. Would he fit in Andor? I guess so, because it took place right before episode 4, didn't it?
Yeah.
When does Fallen Order... When is that set? Like, what time period is... I know it's between 3 and 4, but I don't know if it's... Is it pre or post Obi-Wan?
Oh, now you're asking some real questions. I couldn't say. For definite.
Because if it's 10 years before A New Hope, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's the series Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I was under the impression that it was around that time, because that's when all these other, like Quinlan Vos and everything like that, they're all running around.
Sure.
Trying to hide from the Empire or get converted. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Give us the orange lightsaber. That's what I want to see, though. The orange lightsaber.
Yeah, which one is orange? Is that because Sentinel's yellow, right?
Yellow. Yeah.
Jedi Sentinel's yellow. I don't know what the hell. I can't remember what the different. That's a bad for a professed Star Wars nerd. That's a bad thing to not know. Yellow's Sentinel. Red's bad.
Guardian.
So they bled it, right? They bled it. Yeah. Yeah, Guardian. That's the blue one. Blue's Guardian. I know that's yeah.
And then Sentient.
Green, I think, was also Guardian, wasn't it? I don't know. This is tangenting. There's no point. Right. Anyway, so moving on. So yes, Cal Kestis is probably going to be in live action stuff pretty soon. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Right. The last bit of miscellaneous news. I thought you might pick this. I thought you might pick Misk last, so I wanted to save this for the end.
Oh
but
no,
you didn't. So it's fine, but it's okay. It'll hit us with a high.
Okay.
Matt Smith has been he's been doing some rounds as well, promoting HBO Max's House of the Dragon, which apparently test audiences have said he's fantastic in. So obviously Smith, he made quite a name for himself playing Doctor Who.
Absolutely.
Hollywood's success has not necessarily followed because he was in Terminator Genesis, let's not forget. And he's also been in Morbius, which has been widely, well, let's just say ridiculed. Now, he was doing an interview with Rolling Stone for House of the Dragon. He had this to say about the critical and commercial response to the movie. And I won't do an accent for Matt Smith, although I might try. It was thrown under the bus. But you just have to roll with it. What else are you going to do? It's a film. At the end of the day, we're not saving lives. For whatever reason, it didn't quite work out. And, well, it is what it is. And then, because this is following on from when he was at Comic-Con, and somebody mentioned to him it's morbing time, and he was really confused. And then he responded, "I'm glad that you watched a completely different movie than I did." And then during the interview, like he said this a little while back. He said he was talking. I think he was talking to comicmovies.com, and that's all like. Oh no, it was his co-star. Sorry, it was his co-star, Al Madrigal. They expressed similar frustrations with the movie by saying, I got butchered in that thing. I think that's what they did. They just really, because of COVID, they just had so much time to mess with it. They really messed it up. So, do you agree with Morbius being completely thrown under the bus? I think we can all agree that he was the standout performance in it for all the wrong reasons. But what do you think, Zane?
I mean, let's face it, he's staying humble. He knows that it hasn't saved lives, which is like...
saved my life. I laughed myself out of depression.
It's just one of those things that's just going to live on his IMDb for years, isn't it? Like,
yes, yeah.
And I guess he's not a star that's like out of touch. He knows, like, he's just going to have to roll with the punches with it. To be fair, it's probably refreshing for him to not deal with like Dalek jokes wherever he goes.
Yeah, Terminator jokes.
Yeah.
Oh, bless him. Anyway, I will. Matt Smith, I will go on record as saying he is a fantastic guy and actor, and he pours himself into every role he does. His performance in The Last Night in Soho is absolutely fantastic. And if you have not seen Edgar Wright's film yet, go and see Edgar Wright's film Last Night in Soho. It's brilliant. It's really, really good.
Even The Crown, his like portrayal
and The Crown,
of...
of Prince Philip. He's incredible in it.
Yeah,
he's really good. I think it's very safe to say, I don't think you can look at Terminator Genesis and Morbius and say that was Matt Smith's fault at all. It's definitely writing on that one. Yes, and I agree. Morbius just was a weird film, man. It's just a weird ride. It's just very strange. Morbius isn't a film; it's an experience. You have to live through it.
Cinematic experience,
It's a
apparently.
cinematic experience. Yes. So there you go. But yeah, no, love Matt Smith. He is one of the key figures that is making me excited about House of Dragons. I have to say, if I'd still watch it for Rhys Ifans and for Paddy Constantine, but like if they, if he wasn't, he adds to it. It's like oh, it's a trifecta of brilliance. So anyway, that's all the misc I had. So we got Marvel or we got DC. Which do you want?
Shall we get the big boy out of the way?
You want to get the big boy? You want to get the big Mac Daddy out of the way, right? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to cover some of the smaller news that kind of slipped under the radar this week with the big announcement, which we will get to. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, Joker. I cannot pronounce the second one. Folie à deux, I think is the name of the second thing. It has been there's been confirmation of another casting in Joker 2, aside from obviously Joaquin Phoenix returning. Quite weird. Lady Gaga has been cast.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, we've talked about it before on Tips and Bits, like the rumors that Lady Gaga was going to be cast. Crazy. Like, it turns out it's true.
Yeah. Speculation on who she might be and why it's Harley.
Oh, it's going to be...
She's going to be Dr. Quinzel. She will be. I guarantee it. I guarantee she'll be Harley. She's got exactly the look for it to be that. And I'm sure she will put the voice on. Everyone thinks of Harley as Margot Robbie, but Margot Robbie's a very beautified version of Harley. And I can picture Lady Gaga. I mean, not to say Lady Gaga isn't hot, but like, you know what I mean? You immediately think of Margot Robbie, and you have to kind of break out of that, and I think he's looking for a much more grittier, more realistic version of Harley, which she would fit into. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, it makes perfect sense. I guess the other part of this is there's rumors that this will be a musical as well.
Why?
It kind of plays to her strengths as, a previous pop star.
Joker, yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait to see it. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be absolutely terrible. Okay, let's move on from that then. I don't care about Joker. I just don't care about Joker 2. I don't give a shit about it. Sorry,
I tell you what, like the only thing I do care, and I'm pretty sure you'll be on board for this, is like at the end of the movie, there's a stinger. There's a Batman there in a cowl. He turns around. It's Ben Affleck. Boom. Jesus. Here we go. Forget the Jared Leto one, who says we live in a society. Yeah, Jared Leto.
We're just living in a society.
We don't want that. Get Morbius out. Green Morbius.
Whip his Morbius out. Come on.
We want the Shakeen.
Rakim. Yeah, all right. Let's move on quickly from this, but stay in the DC universe of Batman and Ben Affleck's Batman specifically.
Yes.
This one's going to hurt you, Zane. This one's really going to hurt you.
No.
So there's been a lot of confusion around Warner Brothers Discovery and what they are planning to do with the DC Extended Universe. There are signs pointing to The Flash as rebooting the place. There was conversations about Superman being replaced with Supergirl, but that potentially might be on the chopping block next as well.
Yes.
Ben Affleck going to be swapped out with Michael Keaton, or is he? All up in the air. All up in the air. However, Rolling Stones has revealed in a move that will probably set Twitter ablaze once they realize it's happened.
Okay.
I will read this. This is from Rolling Stone magazine. Okay. In a telling sign of how far the studio is looking to distance itself from Snyder, a source says documentary filmmaker Leslie Lewis recently asked to license clip from the 2021 Justice League for a film on the history of the DC, and was told there is only one Justice League, the 2017 incarnation.
Wow.
So, suck that, Snyderverse fans. DC are telling you
Whoa.
don't matter. So, it looks like the regime is considering the 2017 theatrical release the official version of the Justice League, which is poor Justice League. Yeah, but it does seem that the article went on to talk about CEO David Zaslav doesn't seem to rate streaming titles that highly. So the $653 million Joss Whedon cut made in theaters clearly means more to him than the HBO Max viewership figures. So yeah, there is theories that the Flash is going to set the stage for a Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they'll completely restart everything. At this point in time, they definitely should. I agree with that way forward. Apparently, this has also come out this week that now we'll get on to the next news story and we'll talk about that. But apparently, on the back of that, there's a 10-year plan that DC is now working towards, similar to the way Marvel had their first 10 years. Thoughts on the 2017 appalling version of Justice League being the official one, Zane?
It's a bit of pill to swallow because it's not that long ago Jim Lee said at San Diego Comic-Con, there's no ties to Zack Snyder's Justice League going forward. Like the Snyder Cut version, we'll never talk about it, consider it again, which is crazy considering A, how celebrated it was, B, the campaigns behind it. Of course, there was a bit of a fiasco recently with the Oscar nomination or whatever it was, or votes. So yeah, it's crazy.
Fair and square, that's what I say.
It's crazy. Like something that's considered a massive success, they're willing to kind of be like, no, we won't acknowledge it.
Yeah, I can understand their reluctance to acknowledge it. I still haven't seen the whole thing all the way through of the Snyderverse one. However, what I have seen of it, it is definitely much better than the 2017 version for a number of different reasons. But just even tonally wise, it fits in with the established DC universe that they'd created already through Man of Steel and through Batman v Superman Justice League. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Sorry, what a horrible title. I don't think they should. If anything, I think they should not acknowledge the 2017 version, and I think they should acknowledge the Snyderverse version, and then Flash resets everything. And then they have this kind of like thing. I think it's a stupid move, especially considering all the controversy that came out of that Justice League, that 2017 one. But hey, it's not my call to make. So there you go. But speaking of resets and confusing cancellations and things, if you've been living under a rock this week, guys, you may have missed the news that Warner Brothers DC, Warner Brothers Discovery, made the quite surprising move to completely can the $80 million budgeted Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
It will be seeing no release. It will not be coming out on HBO Max. It will not be coming out in theaters. Nothing. Apparently, this is a cost-cutting mechanism, because it is actually cheaper for them, and they will make back about $20 million by canning it, instead of investing the marketing to promote it on the various platforms and whatnot.
Right.
I think to say most people were shocked, bearing in mind, A, it's a Bat family title, so it's going to be successful. And B, the cast list was very good for it. I mean, it's shocking, right? So we'll talk about some of the stuff that's come out of that, but it's shocking, isn't it, Zane? What's your reactions to it?
Yeah, it is shocking because, as you say, the cast, this is Brendan Fraser's return to cinema. This was Leslie Grace sort of lead role, coming off high of In the Heights.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons is back as Gordon. Plus, the directors, I believe, worked on Miss Marvel, so they were already well celebrated for their work there. So it had all the recipes. Now, I'm not saying like Batgirl would have changed the world.
No.
It was going straight to streaming, which is again understandable. You know, these mid-range sort of budget movies, but it's mad that they're kind of like cutting their losses on it straight away when they've released worse movies.
Yeah, it is interesting the strategy and the direction of Warner Brothers as a company now that Discovery has been made, because this was going to be one of the, as far as DC wise is concerned, this was the first kind of DC led flagships for HBO Max. Like, you know, the Snyderverse release was obviously a huge thing to come out on HBO Max, but this one was like the first big budget, you know, new movie for HBO Max that was going to be a DC brand.
Yeah.
And they've canned it. And it's kind of shocking in the sense of like, I wonder what Discovery's reaction is, because obviously Discovery are the ones who have bought Warner Brothers, so they're kind of calling the shots, which is why David Zaslav's taken over and is now throwing his weight around. There is some rumors that he doesn't necessarily agree with the with theatrical release, streaming services and that side of things.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they've looked at it, because what we've always been saying, as in the nerdverse, what we've always been saying is that Marvel have a plan. Marvel have staged plans of phases that they are going to hit certain beats at, and that's going to lead the story into everything else. And it doesn't feel like DC Warner Brothers have ever had that. They just one thing to the other, scattershot all over the place.
Yeah.
It feels like it feels like Warner Brothers Discovery have come in and said, you're doing this really backwards. Like, you've had two quite successful, because they were successful previously, films based around Batman and Superman. And then you've got an Aquaman film because Jason Momoa is really popular. And, you know, and Shazam was a lucky thing because everyone was high on comic books and all this other kind of stuff. And then they've gone, but where does it all fit together, and why are we now doing TV? And so I guess, like, you know, I assume this is part of their plan. So leading into the news of that, there was a Q2 investor call that Warner Brothers had, and Zaslav was asked about the backlash that was stemming from the studio's decision to completely scrap the movie. And he didn't address the move directly, but he did remain steadfast in his commitment to theatrical models. Okay. So he said, our ambition, and this is a direct quote from the call, our ambition is to bring Warner's back and produce a great high-quality films. We can build a long-term, sustainable growth business out of DC. We're not releasing a film before it's ready. The focus is to make these films as good as possible. We've seen The Flash, Black Adam, and Shazam 2. We are very excited about them. We've seen them. We think they are terrific, and we think we can make them even better. He went on to say, you look at Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. These are brands that are known everywhere in the world. We have done a reset. We've restructured the business where we are going to focus, where there is going to be a team with a 10-year plan focusing just on DC. We believe we can build a much more sustainable business. It's very similar to the structure Alan Horn, Bob Iger, and Kevin Feige put together very effectively at Disney. We think we can build a much stronger, sustainable growth business out of DC. So that's the media call.
Yeah.
If that's what they're doing, and I say that with a huge pinch of salt, that's probably the right move.
Yeah.
I would like to see where they go with this, and I think it does lead to the idea that they're going to hit the hard reset. What do you think about all this, Zane? You got any more to add after the David Zaslav comments?
Yeah. So it's, as you previously mentioned, they've had an acquisition come across from Disney, as you say, who worked on the MCU and helped with the saga build and such there with everything, which is great. I think what we need now is to know, A, what is the plan? What is the timeline going to look like? B, who's our Kevin Feige? I know we've speculated on this podcast before about, maybe James Gunn, because the success of Preacher and Suicide Squad to a degree as well.
Peacemaker, you mean? Peacemaker, not Preacher.
What did I say? Preacher.
Yeah, not Preacher. It's because you've got gaming on the brain. That's why.
Yeah. But where was I going with it? Yeah, we kind of need to know where that is, and we've heard already. Like James Gunn has tweeted saying, "Don't worry, Peacemaker is safe."
Yeah. I will say to you on that. I personally, so as far as being Feige, I don't think we need DC's version of Feige necessarily, because if you think back to when Iron Man came out, Feige was not the focus of any of this.
No,
it was Favreau, man. Favreau and Downey Jr. were like, they're saving Marvel, the two of them, and then it was all about Favreau's vision for Iron Man 2, and it was all about Downey Jr. and Favreau, and then there was a big controversy when he wasn't coming back for 3, and they were all like, "Oh no, Favreau's out of Marvel. How's it going to work?" So it's like, I don't think hinging it on one person is necessarily the way to go. Marvel is made up of a lot of very different, talented, people.
Yeah.
What they need to do really, and this is the core thing that they need to do. This is the hardest part. This is going to be the hardest part of all of it, and whether you want to admit it or not, and for those of you who don't believe this, I'm sorry, but it's true. The whole MCU was built off of Robert Downey Jr.'s back.
Sure.
If he hadn't have worked as Tony Stark, and if the version of Tony Stark that he brought to the screen wasn't so endearingly charismatic, whilst also being brilliant, it wouldn't have worked. And none of it would have. So the issue they have is you can't build a structured universe off the back of a Batman, because Batman's not a team player. He's not a team player, guys. Sorry, he doesn't play well with the others. You need a Superman who is identifiable, loving, caring, also has vulnerability. That Superman needs to inspire people to come together. That's the bottom line behind it. And you need some. And I love Henry Cavill a lot, but Henry Cavill is now stained with the Snyderverse brand, so they're going to have to recast him. You need a good Superman. You need a Superman to bring everything together. And without that, it's or even if it's not Superman, it needs to be somebody an actor who will stay the course, be incredibly lovable. There was a lot of magic that happened with Marvel. There was a lot of pieces that slotted into place that just worked. And a lot that didn't. Edward Norton is not the Hulk to this day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like Warner Brothers doesn't seem very good at rolling with the punches when things don't necessarily work.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
agreed.
I don't think because let's be frank, the reason why Justice League changed so drastically was because Wonder Woman was successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was it basically, Batman v Superman happened. They announced Justice League. Wonder Woman happened in between. Zack Snyder had some personal tragedy that was terrible, and then the studio went, "Well, what are we doing here? Wonder Woman was really successful, and that was colourful and kind of actiony, but also a little bit gritty. Let's do it like that. Let's get in the guy who did Avengers. He can fix all of it. He can just do all of it." And then it was horrible.
But Zack worked on Wonder Woman as well.
Exactly. I know.
But, but I know what you're saying. It's kind of like, let's see if it works. I don't know if you saw some of the slides from the quarterly investments.
Oh no, I didn't.
I'll share them with you now because they are wild. So, for example,
Oh, is this
The,
images from? Oh yeah, okay.
these are the slides from the quarterly meeting, and one of their plans is, so there's going to be like a brand sort of synergy as such. So,
Okay.
and the idea is that HBO Max going forward is
Hmm.
going to be directed more at males than
Right.
females. Scripted, they use this weird term as lean in. So what they're referring to is that if you're watching HBO Max, they want you to be, on the edge of your seat sort of content. Um, home for the fans and all this other sort of like
This is
cliched words.
this is really scary for me though, man, because it's like it's the same kind of thing. So if you look at core demographics of people, like
Hmm.
that is a specific thing where they are going to specifically try and split male and female audiences. So
Yeah,
males have their place and females have their place. And it's the same kind of thing that social media does with like when
yeah.
you get into like things like politics and stuff like that. Because if you
Mm,
have quite an even debate, it stokes argument, which feeds into social media. So that's why
yeah.
you see a lot of like far right groups and all this other kind of rubbish that's on these social media platforms getting a lot of gravity because it stokes argument that then makes social media platforms seem more popular because people are arguing
Mm,
about apples and oranges. And this is exactly the same kind of thing. And it's the kind of thing that I hate about modern society because we shouldn't be trying to stoke aggression between each other or like splits between each other.
yeah.
We should all be
Dividing.
inclusive. It's like I like plenty of shows that like females watch. Females like plenty of shows that I watch. It's not,
Mm.
it shouldn't be one and then the other, but oh well. I mean,
It's crazy, and just for those who are wondering what happens with the other content. So Discovery Plus is going to be aimed more at females, unscripted, so your reality TV shows, lean back. So the concept here is that there's shows you put on, but you're on your phone or something.
yeah.
It's that kind of content. Comfortable viewing is another word they use. And just to give you an idea of what brands, as they like to call it, will land on each one. So franchises like, of course, DC, Shark Week, Game of Thrones, 90 Day Fiance Universe, and the Harry
Wow.
Potter will land on HBO Max. And then things like Friends, The Big Bang Theory, which are both shows cancelled, but okay. Sex and the City, all of those sort of shows would land on Discovery Plus.
So I'd just like to point out immediately, um,
Hmm.
Big Bang Theory. I watch that.
Yeah.
Friends. I watch that. My wife doesn't watch that. 90 Day Fiance, my wife is obsessed with that, and I don't watch it. Like, who's picking these things? Like, Jesus.
Cartoon Network
Property
will
Brothers,
be.
though, they've got that right. Oh man, it just scares me, Zane. Like it just scares me the route we're going in. Anyway, let's keep the energy up. We don't want to bring it down.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of keeping energy up, looks like somebody's energy is a little bit hot and flustered and bothered.
Oh,
Hollywood Reporter is revealing that the former DC Films boss Walter Hamada came very close to leaving the studio upon learning of the plans to cancel Batgirl, and has even consulted with a lawyer regarding that. As of right
oh,
now, he's agreed to remain in his current post until at least Black Adam's released on October the 21st. The quote was, "He's pausing. The decision has not been made to make this adversarial yet."
oh boy.
Yes. So apparently he was very upset at not being consulted over the decision and was concerned about the impact it would have on those who were part of making Batgirl. News was broken to him at a test screening for Black Adam, with the explanation being that as part of Zaslav's strategy, the DC Comics movie wasn't strong enough for a theatrical release and too pricey for streaming. What are your thoughts on Hamada potential? I mean, Hamada's been one of the guys who's been there since Man of Steel. Um,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on him potentially leaving?
Uh, it's a shame that those sort of decisions could drive someone to you know leave their role and such.
Yeah.
Just as an extension of that, I don't know if you saw the recent reports. Apparently, like the cast and crew didn't know that Batgirl had got cancelled until it broke on social media.
That was going to be one of the things I covered next.
Oh
but yeah, no, it's good that it leads us onto it. Yeah, I there's not much to add to that, but yes, they were informed by social media. Not the best way to find out of these things, but
no,
it just sounds like it's honestly it sounds like Warner Brothers Discovery they've done the classic thing of a lot of American companies seem to, and I say that generally. I'm not, if you're not one of these, then that's fine. But their strategy seems to be purchase, cut, grow, and that is it does feel like that's what they're doing at the moment. You know, you and I, just to put this onto something else, but you and I are wrestling fans, and there is a lot of debate about All Elite Wrestling because they are currently on TNT and TBS, which is a Warner Brothers owned TV stations, and they're coming up for negotiations soon for their television contract. Statistically speaking, they are the number one rated cable show on the nights that they're on, so they shouldn't be in trouble of being cancelled. However, they were banking on a big new splashy TV deal, which looks like now might not happen because the investment is not going to be there because Warner Brothers is making huge cuts. So how does that factor into it? So this has massive ripples beyond just DC and, you know, the television department itself. It's affecting every corner of business. You know, there was rumors about them ditching the NBA. They can't, and they're not going to. But you know, they don't necessarily want to support it, but they're in contracts bound to the NBA for providing these things. But you know, they're just looking to cut as much as possible. So it's
not
weird.
To sound too corporate as well. Something that I've seen fly around on the Twitterverse and such, and we've again kind of relating it to wrestling. When a company makes like major cuts and things of that nature, especially before a quarterly meeting, and make announcements where the stock drops dramatically, there's always the conversation of, do you think they're prepping to sell? Which is a weird concept considering Discovery not long bought.
No, they're definitely
and such.
So you're talking about that in regards to World Wrestling Entertainment, and that's always the theory, is that they're looking to sell. It's a different scenario. Warner Brothers Discovery bought Warner Brothers. They invested a lot of money in purchasing it. They want to make their money back very quickly in very quick returns. The way to do that is to cut as much money as possible so that you can save as much money on your books. And that's what they're doing. I'm not arguing with the strategy behind the DC creative in bringing in a 10-year plan and having people have a clear vision for where it's going and actually sticking to that vision. I just think that everything is up in the air at the moment, and this is a period where we don't know where it's going to shake up and what's going to happen, and it's sad. People are losing their jobs over this. You know, it's never a good thing when companies
and
cut
the art
people.
that they've created as well. Like we haven't even talked about like animation as well, because animation's going to be being cut. There was an announcement of a DC Studios as well, which is kind of interesting, but let's not get onto
animation because we'll be here until Christmas if we get onto that. But it's interesting that you say about losing the art. So the final piece I wanted to talk about tonight was actually for DC anyway, was actually to say that it may not be that great of a loss actually that we've lost Batgirl. So there were test audiences, my friend. There were test screenings of Batgirl that happened. You may have seen this. Hollywood insider Matthew Baloney has now shared what he's heard about the test screenings on his podcast, The Town, and it actually sounds like Zavslav's perception of the movie may have been a bit skewed by the audience. So apparently the screening took place when Warner Brothers was still trying to figure out what to do with Batgirl, and he added the executives, Walter Hamada of DC and some of the others there, asked the audience, did this feel big? And clearly they were trying to figure out whether it felt like it deserved a theatrical release, and the consensus was absolutely not. My source has said it played like a TV pilot. The stakes were extremely small, and this is the final nail. He said it felt a little like Dark Phoenix.
Wow. Okay.
So it does sound like it might not be that much of a loss that we've had here. What do you think on that? What are your reactions to that one based on what you've seen?
Again, like, I was really intrigued to see this. They used the Batgirl Burnside outfit. Of course, it's got Keaton, so I was, geared up to see this anyway. Again, I don't think it was bound to change the world. Like, in the same way, like Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey is a fun movie. Like, it was never going to, set the stage for Justice League 2 or for Darkseid or anything. But
Birds of Prey 2 definitely wouldn't have been released under this regime, that's for damn sure.
Absolutely. But at this stage, I hope it gets leaked more than anything. Like, if a script gets leaked, or, maybe the same way Deadpool teaser trailer got leaked and we got to learn a lot more from it.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of want to happen, which is a terrible thing now, but
this will get a release eventually. It's not going to be for a few years.
Do you think?
Yeah, it will. They'll put it out as some HBO anniversary Batman special or something and say, we're doing a Batman special of 90 years of Batman, and as a celebration we're releasing Batgirl in a special edition HBO Max never before seen, when they don't care about saving money anymore.
I mean, the only way I can see it is like if they sold the DC arm to, say, like Amazon, and Amazon Prime's like, we'll put it up, of course we will, like, 1,000 subscribes.
They'll release it. So, well, first of all, that's never going to happen. They're never going to sell DC because it will make too much money if they do it right. In fact, it has made too much money already. Aquaman made $1 billion, for God's sake. Aquaman. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Anyway. Let's get off talking about depressing DC news now, Zane, and let's get on to some more depressing Marvel news, because this was one of the pieces of news that I didn't need to hear this week, but it came through. So Patton Oswalt, he's been doing the rounds because he's in Sandman. Spoiler, he's in Sandman. His voice is, at least, and he was being interviewed on the Today Show. And Patton Oswalt informed us that they have announced, this is a direct quote from him, they've announced that there's going to be an Eternals sequel. Chloe Zhao is going to direct it, so hopefully there will be more adventures of Star Fox and Pip. I hated the Eternals. It's easily my least favourite Marvel film. It's what a pile of poo it was. Thoughts, Zane? Do you care?
I do care. I've revisited the Eternals movie. Again,
Jeez,
it's got its flaws. For all of it? I did, yeah.
Wow.
It's got its flaws, but they've had feedback. They've got hindsight now on their side. Let's stay optimistic. I'm not a fan of Harry Styles.
No, definitely not.
But at the same time, the Eternals, let's see what happens. It could set up more cosmic things that we've never seen before, especially with these Celestials and everything. So, yeah, I'm kind of optimistic. Isn't it weird that we've just had San Diego and this didn't get announced there?
No, because it's terrible. It's terrible. It is, honestly, the Eternals is the film equivalent of the Inhumans. It's awful.
No, it's not that bad.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The only thing that is good about the Eternals is Brian Tyree Henry, who's Phastos in it. He's awesome. Yep, that's it. That's it. That's all I got. Yep. Nope.
The guy who plays as Gilgamesh gives the best performance ever.
Yeah, and then and then spoiler alert, he gets murdered, so he's not going to be in the sequel. So I don't care. I don't care. Like, no, it's just anyway. Let's not. I'm going to get
Mm.
onto an Eternals rant if I'm not careful. So let's just move on. Yeah, there's going to be a sequel. Whoop-de-doo. But what I am excited about is it was revealed at Comic-Con the entire slate of Phase 4 and 5 and some of 6. And one of the things that's coming up is Secret Invasion.
Yes.
So it's a TV show with Sam Jackson and Nick Fury, and Ben Mendelsohn as the Skrull Talos. But very interesting description from it was released this week. That was in regards to what its billing is going to be on Disney Plus. So I'm going
Who's
to read
the
this.
veil?
No, yeah. So
Who is it?
we don't know who the villain is, but
Oh.
why it's interesting is the show is being called. Well, I'm going to read this blurb to you. The crossover event series showcases a faction of shape-shifting Skrulls who've been infiltrating Earth for years. Why is that interesting, you say? They've used the words crossover event series. That is a description that has never been given to any other MCU TV show on Disney+. Theories are abound, Zane. Does that mean that we're going to get a ton of cameos and massive links to other movies and TV shows? I would assume so. Right. Especially after you factor in what Colby Smulders, who's Maria Hill, said recently when she was talking to Phase Zero, and I will read the quote out. I mean, when we think about the world that they're in, the Skrulls have been around since we saw them in Captain Marvel. They've been building in numbers, and are they good? Are they bad? We're going to find out in this show, but there's certainly a lot of them, and so it sort of turns into this, can I trust you? Can I not trust you? And it's really cool. It's certainly fraught with a lot of tension. So, in the books, Secret Invasion, the Skrulls have infiltrated Earth, and they have been on Earth for maybe a decade or so more, something like that.
Good couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, slowly working their way into all kinds of different society. Notable heroes that turn out to be Skrulls were Black Bolt, turned out to be a Skrull. Elektra turned out to be a Skrull. Sue Storm, I think, was a Skrull. And obviously the most famous hero, the butler Jarvis from the Avengers. Big time. But no, it was the Secret Invasion was a huge event in the books, and it was built around the idea of you don't know which one of your favorite heroes is going to be bad. I don't think that's what this is going to be. I really don't. I think this is going to be Talos and his partner, who I cannot remember the name of now. We've seen them in Spider-Man No Way Home. We've seen them operating in Spider-Man No Way Home. I think this show is going to recap how they've been involved in the MCU secretly over the last 10 years or more. I think that we will see that some of the villainous things that have happened is not necessarily as a result of escalation of Tony Stark, but because of Skrull situations that we are not necessarily aware of. You know, and I think that's where it's going to be. I think it's going to be the Skrulls on the whole are good guys. However, they have splinter cells of them who are not good guys and who believe what they are doing is wrong and they should be conquering us instead of it. I think that's where it's going to go. What are your thoughts on it, Zane? Speculate like your heart depended on it.
The crossover line is interesting because then you kind of think,
Defenders.
What about those other Defenders?
Yeah. I mean, well, it's a crossover.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of makes you think of other sort of Marvel TV properties that were under the umbrella of Jeb Loeb. So your Defenders, your Agents of Shields, dare I say Agent Carter? Would they go back that far?
I don't think they'll go back that far, but yeah, that's a good point. No, they'll go back as far as Captain Marvel. It'll be after Captain Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I think,
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. 90s, yeah.
yeah, you run the risk of getting too convoluted, but it does raise the question: what were they doing during the Chitauri invasion?
Mm-hmm.
You know, who was one of them on the World Council when Winter Soldier and Hydra were revealed? You know, there's a lot of questions.
Is this their do-over to say the Inhumans TV show? Like,
You can't
they
do
were
all
all
of them.
Skrulls.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, yes, yeah, sure. That's what they're gonna do. That's exactly what they're gonna do. I don't know. Okay, so let's look at this a different way then. Who's a
Okay.
Skrull
Mm.
now? Tell me who a Skrull is now in the MCU.
It's got to be someone we know that's been around for a while. See,
Who
I've seen a
isn't,
lot of people.
and also who isn't necessarily like their comic counterpart. Because it's like there's got to be a skew as to why they don't behave necessarily like. I'm trying to think of people who we've said they're not really acting like they do in the comics.
I see. Yeah. I've seen a few people theorize that Rhodey is a Skrull to explain the actor change between 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's it.
Explains it easy.
You say that.
Mm.
He could be, because
Yeah.
whilst it's been 5 years between Infinity War and Endgame, he's very willing to suddenly turn his back on the US government when Cap shows up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
A man devoted to, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who else could be. I really don't know. It's hard to kind of register, because it kind of almost betrays what we've seen on screen of them so far.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they just say, well, this is a cut-off point. Sorry, this is a cut-off point, and after this moment, everything else has been a Skrull.
Yeah.
It's tough. I hope they don't do the cop-out thing of saying that Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow was a Skrull who got thrown off the. That's a very real possibility. That could get people back. Tony being a Skrull, they could, if they do that, it'll be the biggest betrayal ever.
Yeah, I can only imagine it's like lower tier characters, like maybe the kid that Tony met in Iron Man 3.
Maybe. I was thinking it'd probably be more villains, probably, I would guess. Like Rumblo as Crossbones and stuff, people like him.
Oh, yeah.
I could see him being more of a villain, or who else could there be? Bucky. Let's just go with Bucky. Killmonger. Killmonger could be a villain. No, that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
No, that would cheapen that. Anyway, we could be here for hours just theorizing. But yeah, it does sound like it's going to be quite a big bang TV event. Whether or not it's going to bring together everyone who's ever been in the shows or whatever, I don't know. Maybe this is the Champions event. Like maybe this is the Young
show.
Avengers champion thing that they're doing. But who knows? Anyway, well, who do you think is a Skrull in the MCU at the moment, guys? Get your theorizing hats on and let us know. That is the end of Tips and Bits this week. Zane, if people want to get in touch with us, where can they get us?
You can find us on Instagram, on Twitter, and of course you can email us. All the relevant links will be in the description down below. Beautiful.
And if you want to find us personally, find our addresses, hunt us down. We're out there. I'm on Twitch, twitch.tv/gentlemanlygamer. I'm also on the gram. Zane, I believe they can catch you directly on the gram as well, can't they?
Absolutely, at Zane_Taicho.
Beautiful. Thank you for tuning in to this little bonus episode of the show. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will catch you next week. Bye-bye!
Ta-ta for now.
Thank you.